Welcome to Backyard Bows. Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. I'm Brandon, and today we're going to take a look at the Verge by Scott Archery, which is a kind of a hybrid release. So it looks like a wrist strap index style release, but the mechanics are more of a back tension release. And with that being said, is you do have that click and that unanticipated shot like you would with back tension, but you also, if you needed to in a field application, needed to get off a shot quicker, you can use this just like an index style release, and it's still pretty smooth. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Two reasons why I thought, man, why would they even have come up with this? One is to transition people who have used a wrist strap release their entire life and maybe are a little hesitant to go use a back tension release. I feel like this is maybe a little bit easier to make that switch. It gives you that same feel that you're comfortable with, but it allows you to adjust to that unanticipated shot and kind of the mechanisms of a back tension. I think that's awesome, and I think that's a cool tool to use if you're somebody who maybe is a little hesitant to get into a back tension release. Second reason is if you're somebody who does shoot a back tension or has the reasons, you're a competition archer, you need the back tension release, but you like or prefer a hunting release to be a wrist release and index finger release. You could use this all year round. I think that's awesome. So we'll go over the little adjustments that you can make on it. We'll show you the differences between the two shots, and we'll do a little freestyle shoot. So right off of the bat, I love Scott Archery's Craftsman. They do a great job. They have a really nice, comforted pad on the inside and then a nice durable leather, outside. The adjustment on the length you make with the nylon strap, I don't prefer nylon straps on my wrist release, but with this one, it makes sense. So you kind of have that handheld release feel to it, if that makes sense. So with this one, I thought that was well placed, the nylon strap. So what you do, you undo those two bolts, you can slide that strap up and down and get that perfect fitting. So on a regular wrist strap and a wrist release, I like my hook to be right at the bottom of my finger. With this one, when I set it up and I felt, man, this is comfortable right here, it was actually a little bit longer than I usually set up my wrist release. And I think that's just because of that back tension feel that I was getting, but it is a little bit longer. Once you do find that perfect length, I've just made a little mark right here in that circle with one of those silver Sharpies to kind of, so I can reset it if it ever adjusts, or if I know it's moving, I can make sure and tighten those screws back down. Because I think one thing that's important is you don't want this thing to move on you. When you load up a wrist release, it does want to slide up on you. So I think this one, more emphasis on this than even others, is you want to make that really nice and tight so it can't move, so you have that same feeling in that back tension you want every time. So it also is on a swivel, so it adjusts. I do like that it's the adjustments in the nylon strap and not in the swivel, because as you know, if you're tossing, moving, practicing in and out of your truck and your release adjusts by the swivel, it can adjust and you not even know it until you draw back. So I like that just is on a swivel, but it has nothing to do with the length adjustment. A minor adjustment you can make is in the trigger. So you have this nice big 2-finger trigger, which I love. You can do 2 fingers on the right side. You can split it and make it feel like more like a handheld release with your index finger on the left side. But you have a couple different options there, and then that will adjust very, very slightly up and down if you undo those 2 bolts. So the real major adjustment that you can make on this is the travel. So there's a little bitty hole right here in the front. I wish in the package they supplied you with that little bitty Allen wrench, because it's so tiny. None of the ones that I had here in my shop fitted. I actually had to buy one on the side so that you could adjust that travel to your preference. Something else that I like about this, it has a nice little groove in the front for your thumb to kind of dig in, and then it has a nice little notch for your index finger on the back side for when you're drawing. And I also like that the hook is really nice and sleek and small. I feel like this thing is going to be real smooth coming off the end of here. So after you make all your adjustments, you set it up, you get your travel to where you think you might want, then you're going to have to start shooting it a little bit, and that's when you'll kind of adjust that travel. The more you shoot it, the more you'll realize if you need to add or increase or decrease the travel to your preference. So we'll do both shots. First, we'll give you that back tension style release. You'll set up, you get your click, and then it's kind of more of a motion of a pinching of your shoulder blades with an unanticipated shot. And then we'll shoot another arrow kind of showing you just how easily you can force a shot, something that you have a little bit more control over if you need to, if you're in the field. So okay. And then I love that you can do both. So again, you have, just a little click of this trigger, it resets your hook. And then you can draw back, and if you need to, without ever initiating your click. I love that, it's kind of cool. Okay, so now we'll shoot a whole bunch. We'll shoot both ways. Back tension, and we'll kind of shoot some force in that release, like every other index finger wrist release. And we will just run through this little 3D ladder we have back here. We'll run through this little 3D target ladder we have back here in the backyard. The more you shoot this thing, the more I like it, and the more I realize just how versatile and unique this release is. I mean, it's one of a kind. You don't have very many options like this that give you kind of two different style releases in one. Another thing, and again, I'll be the first to admit it, I was very hesitant the first time somebody handed me a back tension release. Very hesitant for one reason or another. I had a lot of questions, and I was a little fearful on just where the arrow would release, if it was going to release when I was drawing it back. So again, if you are hesitant, but you feel it would help you in whatever kind of archery you're doing, I think this is an awesome option to get you from one release to the next. All right, so now we'll go all the way back through, and we'll do it with like a forced release, just like you would with an index finger. Something that you have a little bit more control over, like I said inside, imitating a hunting scenario where you're realizing, okay, I need to get a shot off. It allows you to, which is really cool. Even though it's not designed for this, it's actually very smooth when comparing it to other index finger releases. We'll just climb that same ladder, same targets, kind of showing you both versions. I like that you can just click that trigger and it kind of resets you. Man, I'm more and more impressed by this as I've used it, and I've got to shoot it a whole bunch this week. And the more I pick it up, the more I like the way it feels. I like the way it holds when it draws. I love the release. I think it's really smooth, and I love that you have a really unique option of how you want to use it. So final thoughts on the Verge. I think two things. I think Scott Archery did a great job of filling a void of the people who are hesitant going into back tension, even seasoned hunters who have been shooting something their whole life that's familiar to them. I think it's a really cool tool to help you transition, for sure. Second, I think it's just a solid release in general. The quality, it's very comfortable, it's super smooth no matter which way you're using it, and I love this two-finger trigger. I'm surprised more wrist releases don't have that. It's really comfortable in hand. I just love that. But if you're interested in, for whatever reason, I think they're very well priced. Click one of the links below, try one out. Scott Archery has been doing this for as long as I can remember, and they're still innovative and putting out stuff that I think are great products. So the Verge Backyard Bow is approved. Hey, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, hit that like button, leave us a comment. I love interaction. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We have so much more to come. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook for updates of anything else that we're going to review. If there's something that you're interested in, hit those links below and check them out. And make sure, no matter what your setup is, what bow you're shooting, get your reps in on the daily. We'll see you next week.